Jones Dairy Farm is a seventh-generation family-owned and operated company located in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. For more than 135 years, Jones has been using real, natural ingredients, original recipes, and time-honored traditions to create distinctive and timeless products. Jones is known for producing premium, all-natural breakfast sausage, naturally smoked hams and Canadian bacon, all-natural meatballs, and dry-aged bacon. All certified gluten-free. Est-ce que tu aimes le français? Do you love French? Do you want to learn French? Well, the Alliance Française of Milwaukee has been connecting folks through French language classes, francophone events, and travel for over 100 years. They're enrolling for their winter session, which runs January 6th through March 24th, 2025. So register now at afmilwaukee.org. Most of their classes are available on Zoom, including group classes for adults and private lessons tailor-made to your needs and goals. And there's a special offer for total beginners. French 101 is only $275. That's $100 off their regular price. Register before January 2nd to also take advantage of their early bird discount of $30 adult group courses. À tout à l'heure. Today on CityCast Madison. It's Thursday, so of course, we're dishing on Madison's food scene. Are you planning your menu for your Christmas or holiday dinner? You know, you don't have to cook it yourself. The Madison area has a number of great restaurants that serve dine-in on Christmas Eve and day. Plus, just as many offer take-and-bake options to save you some time on cooking. Freelance journalist Nicole Hazy wrote all about it in a recent piece. We asked her for her top recommendations. It's Thursday, December 19th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Hi, Nicole.
Hello.
Welcome back to CityCast Madison. I heard your other conversation with Haley somewhat recently, and it was really fun. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me back. It's exciting to talk about.
Yes. Well, you are officially our holiday food roundup queen.
Thanks.
Who, for folks who might not remember, it was in November that you came on to tell us where folks could get food around town on Thanksgiving. And today we're like, we want to bring her back on the show to talk about where folks can get food on another big holiday right around the corner, Christmas. One thing that's interesting about this Christmas holiday this year is that it falls in the middle of the week. So that's often a time when restaurants in Madison, especially during the winter, during this time, can be closed. So I just wanted to kind of kick off and say that, folks, before we get into places where you can eat, with the caveat that you should probably always double check with the restaurant just to confirm their hours, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's that. I'd say that's the rule across the board for stuff like this. Places may sell out. They may have openings and closings and reservations. So the best bet is always to check in with the restaurant. But yeah, for me this year, I was like, oh, a lot of places in Madison close Tuesday and Wednesday. And so if you're somebody that had a regular plan that you've done year after year, that restaurant might not be open this year. So yeah, that was my big, we need to make sure and tell everybody, you should double check, because there are several places that are open this year on Christmas Day, but not Christmas Eve, which is incredibly rare. Usually they're either open for both or they're only open for Christmas Eve. That's the big call out, the big shout out. If you have plans and something you normally do, definitely double check with your restaurant of choice, because things are a little weird this year because that Tuesday, Wednesday holiday.
Yeah, so if you don't want a plot twist in your Christmas plans, double check. So with all that said, let's dive into it. Nicole, tell us about some local restaurants that you have confirmed will be open on Christmas for service.
Yeah, so places that are open for both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day include Swad, the Indian place in Monona, Parkway Family Restaurant, Tully's 2, Headquarters Bar, Gus's Diner. So it's kind of a mix. And then one of my favorite, sort of offbeat suggestions is always to go to Marcus Movies, because at this point you can get a full meal there, right? You can get pizza, there's a whole swanky bar, the concession stand itself has all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm yeah, put on some pajamas, go in one of their nice reclining loungers, and I feel like that's not a bad way to celebrate Christmas if that's what you're doing.
It's certainly not. And we also just had a conversation with our newsletter editor, Rob Thomas, about movies to see over the holidays. That's something that people do. So you can like kind of do both.
That's what I'm thinking.
I didn't know this until, in the past couple of months that Marcus movie theaters had food. I have been getting their burgers. So that's a new thing for me, is like going to see a movie and get a burger. But yeah, they've got the whole bar and everything. That is a really kind of fun suggestion. I also want to call out Swad that you mentioned right up top. That's actually one of my favorites of my family. We're an Indian food family through and through. So whenever my aunts visit, I take them there. It's fantastic. And I haven't been to Tully's, but you got a couple Monona recommendations over here that I've been hearing about lately.
Yeah, well, I feel like places like Swad, like I would want to go with a group and just like order copious amounts of things and just share at the table. Like that to me is the type of place where like I want to get as many different things as possible and try it. So I think there's a few places on the restaurant there, the kind of place where like I just want to go and just indiscriminately order off the menu and share. It's also a great option for vegetarian, which I think is nice. But yeah, there's, all kinds of curries. They have a full page on their menu that's just breads baked in the tandoor oven, which I'm like, yes, carb load me. I'm in. I want all of it. Like, forget all the rest of the stuff. Like, let's just try everything on there and then like rank it. That sounds like the perfect day to me. So yeah, I think that's an amazing option. And they do their combinations too, which are great for like a couple because you can kind of get a wide taste from the menu. So yeah, that's a great restaurant. I would recommend that any day of the week, but is especially a really nice, I think, sort of like communal family or found family friends kind of Christmas meal option.
I love that. Can we be friends?
Yeah.
I love the way you're thinking. I love that.
I was like, I tried writing it a few different ways, but I'm like, I don't know how you say bring friends who don't mind sharing food and order something off the entire, like order the whole menu. That's my suggestion for several of the places on this list.
Yes. I have not had a miss at Swad for sure. So you just kind of shared a list of places that folks can think about that are open both days. What about places that are open just on Christmas Eve?
Sure. One of the sort of like fancier places is Cento, which has sort of their regular scratch Italian and is also doing a bunch of specialty stuff, including like roast duck and beef Wellington. They require reservations and they do have you put down a deposit, but that deposit goes towards the bill. And, that's just to make sure that their seats stay filled for the night. So there are definitely a couple of places that are sort of regulars on this list that have already filled up too. So
is Cento, that's the one that's over by the Overture Center?
Yeah. So that it's on Mifflin Street. But yes, it's just, I think that's the nature of this is that some of these places are sort of like corner pubs and places like that. And so the fancy places are fewer and further between, but Cento is one of those options. As we were talking about sort of the fill the table version of this, that's like Dumpling House. Like, please let me have every type of dumpling that they have. Just an amazing, on Midvale, just an amazing mix of cream cheese wontons, pan-fried and steamed dumplings, bao, soup dumplings, which like in this weather, I just would eat until I couldn't anymore. So that's another one of the, in the vein of Swad, like please come over and let's order everything on the menu.
And it's soup season, but to get it in a dumpling, you're right, that's peak. That is peak.
It is. Like why that makes a difference, I do not know, but it does.
It's like a little cozy pocket of love.
It is. On the sort of fancier route, we have Divino also has a holiday special, and they are one of those restaurants that's normally closed on Tuesdays, but is open for Christmas Eve, verified via the phone. So just, again, make sure that you double check those places and particularly for the
I haven't heard about Divino, because just out of ignorance, tell me, where is that one?
It's on King Street. They have a couple city locations, but I think that this is the only one that's open for Christmas Eve. And it's usually sort of like, Italian small plates, like it's kind of tapas style, but Italian food. And so they've adjusted their schedule. They do wine pairings.
Oh, it's the new place. It's newer to me place across from Majestic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Johnny Delmonico's, which is that sort of steakhouse, supper clubby place, also has a full Christmas Eve menu. And I was impressed this year they added vegetarian options, like to go as far as a cauliflower steak. So it's not just like your one vegetarian relative has to have salad. So I appreciated that. And they have a bunch of different types of tartare. Like it's a very fancy and delicious sounding menu. I got very hungry reading it last night.
Yeah, you want something hearty, so to be included, that's very nice. Yeah, for people.
Yeah, it's not like, here's some scalloped potatoes for you. Enjoy.
Yeah. It feels like a lot of spots downtown.
It is, yeah. And then also Cafe Hollander on Hilldale. So, I mean, it's a mix. And usually there's also a couple things on State Street. So you kind of have to find them where they are for this particular situation, right? Like whoever wants to be serving today, you might have to go a little out of your way, unfortunately.
How about Lucille?
Lucille's doing their Miracle on King Street again, and they have all their fancy, fun-sounding cocktails, and they have a whole array of, like, specialty mugs you can buy alongside of it, and they have a Christmapolitan that I was reading that has elderflower in it that I was like, well, I would like one of those right this very instant while I am trying to write this.
A Christmapolitan. That took me a second because it sounded like a news anchor. The name Christmapolitan.
It really does.
You're talking like a cosmopolitan with a Christmaca swing on it, but with elderflower. Elderflower is the best.
It is my
that
favorite.
Sounds wonderful. Me too. Okay, we're friends.
New besties.
Yeah.
So like as soon as I saw that, I was in. But yeah, they do the regular snacks and pizza, and it is kitschy and funky and fun. And I think like if you want to get in the holiday spirit, Lucille is the place to go.
Mm-hmm. And then there are some spots that are just open Christmas Day, right?
Yeah. So Maharani Indian Restaurant is only open on Christmas Day. That is, because Tuesday is one of their normal close days. But that's a place that I recommend sort of every holiday, right? They're just like warm and comforting, and you kind of feel like you're in somebody's kitchen there, which I really appreciate. It's like this mix of like tablecloths, but also kind of casual. They also do a ton of stuff in their tandoor and have curries all over the map. It feels like the kind of place that would be really good on a cold winter day.
And that's another one that my family, we're like, okay, it's time for Indian, Maharani. Also just one of this is the one on West Washington, right?
Yes, West Wash.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Ruyi hand-pulled noodles on State Street, which is a favorite of mine, regardless of sort of time of day or year. The hand-pulled noodles have that like awesome chew, and just really a big fan. So they also have tons of hot and cold preparations in the noodles and dumplings and things like that. They are open their regular hours. And one of the kind of surprising ones for me was, and I apologize to them if I say this wrong, but Fail's Supper Club, which is out in Randolph. So it is a little bit of a drive. It's about a 40-mile northeast of the city, but it's this supper club that also really goes in big on Wisconsin's German heritage. So it's this mix between like an old school, like Mater's in Milwaukee style place and also a supper club. And they're doing a huge Christmas Day buffet. And so it's got, things like brown sugar glazed ham and roasted pork loin, but German apple stuffing, soup and salad bar, all that sort of stuff. And then they listed their dessert as pumpkin spice cake with brandied cream cheese frosting. And I was like, I kind of want to go just for that.
Oh my God.
I was like, why have I not been brandying my cream cheese frosting before this?
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's also super reasonable. It's only like $23.50 for adults a person. And sometimes the buffets in the nicer places get a little too pricey for families, but that one seems like a really good option if you're willing to make the drive.
When it comes to raw breakfast sausage, Jones Dairy Farm is the brand. Made with simple ingredients, only pork, salt, and spices, they're clean and have incredible flavor. Their natural casing pork sausage links are snappy, juicy, and so delicious. They love them in an air fryer, making them easy to cook, crispy on the outside, and delectable on the inside. Do yourself a favor and give these a shot. Always made with distinctive quality and unmatched flavor you cannot find anywhere else. Jones, making breakfast better since 1889.
We have one more act for you this evening. I don't even need to say his name. Mr. Bob Dylan.
A Complete Unknown is now a Golden Globe and Critics' Choice nominee for Best Picture.
Bobby, what do you want to be?
Whatever it is they don't want me to be.
Timothy Chalamet astonishes as Bob Dylan in one of the best performances of the year.
Through the bums of dime in your prime.
And critics rave Edward Norton is absolutely fantastic.
70,000 people are here, and Bobby is the reason for it.
This Christmas,
They just want me singing Blowing in the Wind for the rest of my life.
don't miss the movie critics are hailing 5 stars.
To be on your own.
It's pure cinematic magic.
Turn it down.
Play it loud.
And named to AFI and the National Board of Review's top 10 films of the year.
Make some noise, BD. Track some mud on the carpet.
Like a complete unknown.
A Complete Unknown. Only in theaters Christmas Day. Rated R. Under 17 not admitted without parent.
I wanted to ask, and you mentioned one already, but are there any spots you would kind of call out specifically for our vegetarian friends?
Yeah, I mean, both of the Indian places obviously are going to have so many options just because that's part of their culture and sort of their menu inherently has many of those options. A few of the places that sort of regularly do vegetarian stuff in the city are not open. Again, partly because of the days that it falls upon. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, Johnny Delmonico's had a full and specific vegetarian menu, which I really appreciated.
Yeah. Get it, Johnny Delmonico's.
The steakhouse.
Yeah.
Kudos. I was quite surprised. It is very different from last year's menu. So I'm guessing they got to cut a lot of pointed, like, hi, I have a vegetarian family member. What can we do?
I've got a vegetarian family member and I cannot compromise going to the steakhouse. So help
they have
me
to watch
out.
us. Yeah, I don't. Listen. That sounds it feels like in the theme of Christmas is that like there's a lot of unyielding demands and you go with it.
Yes, and where compromise can be found, joy and laughter and silver bells ring.
Wow. Yes, sure. And then also there is, I will say, Melly's Soul Food. We haven't talked about take and bake yet, but in the sort of take and bake or heat and eat sort of places, Melly's specifically has a vegetarian bake as part of their take and bake options, which I thought was really a nice addition and maybe a little unexpected. They have like a bake with potatoes and squash and zucchini and black-eyed peas and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, God, I love black-eyed peas. I'm really excited that you're starting to get the ball rolling on the take and bake options. Before we go there, though, I do want to ask about, the places that we just talked about. And you mentioned at least one or two. Do you recommend that folks get reservations for these places now?
Absolutely. Like this list had several more restaurants on it. That's between the time of me starting it and me sending it to the editors, the reservations had filled up. Definitely make those decisions as early as possible. Certain places, don't take them and we'll be fine. But if your heart's really set on a certain menu or a certain place, definitely plan ahead and get those reservations.
But let's get into the take and bake. So, for the folks who don't want to go out, but also don't want to cook, there are places that offer that kind of option. Can you talk about those?
For sure. And I was saying to my husband as I was writing this, like, I'm not sure that getting dressed up and going out for dinner for Christmas is like any better than having to make it myself and have a bunch of people over. So I feel like it's very cool that there are so many options for sort of planning ahead, take and bake, taking as much stress out of this as possible. So Bar Corlini has a pre-order take and bake lasagna for 6 to 8, and they have a bunch of add-ons for salads and antipasties. That is for pickup on December 21st or 22nd. Heritage Tavern has the fanciest take and bake that I saw, which is juniper and roasted mushroom coated ribeye with a Bordeaux braised beef short rib, which is amazing. And that comes with like a beet and pickled pear salad, and horseradish potato gratin, and so many fancy things. I feel like that's the kind of one where you could like throw out the containers and nobody would know you didn't make it. They also offer gluten-free, which is nice. And then Cassoulet, who does sort of like take and bake is what they do all year long, right? They're for like planning ahead when your kids have too many soccer practices during the week sort of thing. So that they're very good at the take and bake meal. And what I liked is they have not just meals, but tons of little appetizers and the sort of grazing table that is a big part of holidays in a lot of families. So you can fill with dips and deviled eggs and veggie pizza and things like that. And then also, take and bake cookies and also plan ahead for the next morning. So like quiches or other pastries that you could just throw in the oven and have ready for Christmas morning, which is nice.
Yes, so much planning and thought, but you're just like, well, now it's the next day and I've got my family here. They still want to eat. What's going on?
Yes, I highly suggest, we didn't go deep into some of the diners earlier, like Gus's and Monty's, but those sorts of places too. If you went on Christmas Eve and then, pre-ordered a little box to take with you, you would have your pastries for the next morning, which I feel like you said, it's so much planning. That's a part you forget about till you're standing there and like, oh, now there's breakfast. There's still people here.
Yes, that's another great option. And you mentioned a couple, but are there any like deadlines that folks need to be aware of for these take-home options to like be thoughtful of?
For sure. Most of the places have a deadline within the next week. They're all a little different. So every one of the descriptions I have, when the order needs to be in by and when the pickup times are, which is another thing that you just need to be aware of, because sometimes the pickup day is Christmas Eve from like 2 to 4. And if you were planning to be in church at that time or have to be at grandma's house an hour away, that's not going to work for you. So just this is all about making your life easier, but does mean you need to be a little on the ball early on and just really pay attention to the details here. So it's about when the orders need to be in and when that you need to be able to pick them up.
Hopefully this doesn't happen, but we know that the holidays are also a possibility for things to go wrong. Or you might find yourself randomly needing food and you didn't make any of the plans and you can't get any of these other things. You know, the fodder of holiday movies, everything's gone wrong. Now we have to show up to fill in this chain restaurant. I do know that there are a number of chain restaurants open on both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Can you tell us about some of those?
Sure. And I just want to say, and we said this at Thanksgiving too, no shame, right? Go where you are comfortable and you know where they're going to have the food and just take the stress out of it. Don't worry about it too much. But Applebee's is open on Christmas Eve. Places like Buffalo Wild Wings and Chili's, Cracker Barrel, all those sorts of places have different New Year's Eve hours and Christmas Eve hours. I'm jumping ahead. And then Christmas Day, it really needs to be checked by individual location, but we do have a link to that in the story. Places like IHOP or McCormick and Schmick's is open, Outback is open, places like that where you can still get a pretty, hearty meal and make everybody happy and not worry too much about the details.
Okay. Yeah. So there's tons of chain restaurants. I was even thinking one step past that, like McDonald's or something, literally when you're on the move.
Chicken nuggets work really well in the car.
Yes. And fries, sometimes, you want what you want.
Well, it's like when you're going to someone's house, but that they tell you they're going to eat at a certain time, but it's not actually going to happen until several hours after that. And sometimes you just need to prepare the children or also yourself from getting hangry.
So, we've got all of these great options and some already filled. Would you say the moral of this story is dun 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 dun, always plan ahead?
Sure. And I think most people would be if I could plan ahead, I wouldn't need this. But I would just say, there's nothing stopping you from putting a calendar reminder in for December 1st next year to book whatever place it is that you were looking for. Because most places, as soon as Thanksgiving happen, have their Christmas stuff up. And some of them earlier. And I did notice too, just as a note for planning ahead, several of these places also had their New Year's Eve things already up on their website. So yeah, put a little calendar reminder in and be hey, let's do this now. And then there is literally no stress. But yeah, and I think just the other addition to that is be nice, be kind. These are people working on the holidays so that your life is a little less stressful. So don't make their life any more stressful and, tip nicely.
Nicole, you are a delight.
Thank you.
And helpful. You're all of those things. We really super appreciate you. And thank you for taking the time to give us this roundup. It was just absolutely wonderful.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
That's Nicole Hazy, freelance journalist. If you want to read her piece published in the Cap Times, we've got it linked in our show notes. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with a friend who's always willing to get creative and switch it up? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care.